Hi guys and welcome to my new video. So here I am, I'm finally back, not fully, but just on my annual end of the year program, let's say that way. I decided to keep this channel up a little bit by at least doing end of the year reviews on my favorite songs, albums, and groups and other stuffs actually. So here I am doing a video for my favorite albums of 2021. I'm gonna list my top 20 K-pop albums of the year. It's gonna be like mini albums, full albums, it doesn't matter. And also before we even start, I just want to give out a disclaimer. Of course, this is just my opinion, this is just the albums that I listen to the most. I know some of these albums are, let's say, not that good to some of you, or are just underrated at like at all, but I just want to share my opinion. So leave a comments down below for your favorite albums and leave your opinions down there if you want to. You can really do it. So without further ado, let's just go from the number 20. Okay, so starting out from the bottom, number 20, it's Red Velvet Kingdom. So basically, I listened to a lot of albums this year. It's a lot more actually than 20 albums. So this is just my top 20. There are some albums that are maybe better than Queendom when we talk about discography and all the tracks on the album, but I maybe did not listen to them as much as Queendom. Queendom is also not an album that I listened on repeat since it was released, but I kind of enjoyed from time to time listening to it. I was so excited for this comeback from Red Velvet. I love the title track actually. I know many people did not like it, but I honestly quite enjoyed it, and I'm just so happy they're finally back. And I've seen them actually on year-end shows, and they are basically everywhere right now, so I'm happy that they just continued doing what they do usually, making bops. This album is actually not my favorite Red Velvet album out of all. They definitely had better albums than this one, but yeah, this one is pretty up there. I would say maybe my top 3 4 Red Velvet albums. There are some tracks that I honestly don't listen to, like 2 tracks maybe, but there are some that I listen quite frequently though. I listened to this album when it was released and maybe a couple of times then. Right now I basically didn't listen to it as much, so maybe that's why it's number actually at the bottom of my list. But I did definitely enjoyed it. I do enjoy more Velvet side of Red Velvet, so maybe that is the reason why this album is not as high on my list as, for example, 2 years ago when we talk about their Psycho album, whatever it's called, I've forgotten. So basically, I did enjoy it, but just did not listen to it as much. But here it is on my list, so that means I definitely do love it still. Number 19 on my list is Wavy Kickback. For Wavy this year, I of course knew about Wavy a long time ago, well actually since their debut, but I mainly know it because of Lucas and Tan, and I'm sure many of you did that as well. But for me, I never listened to their music. I knew about NCT 127, NCT Dream, I listened to them, Wavy not as much. But then when NCT dropped the whole album last year, and when I heard what is it, Nectar, I was like, okay, actually I need to pay more attention to Wavy. And the reason why I didn't listen to them before, because I was like, this is not Korean music, I'm not quite interested. But then when I did listen to Wavy songs, I actually quite enjoyed it. So I started standing them alongside with all of the NCT. So I'm a stan now, but that doesn't mean that this album should be in my top list right now. I did listen to it when it first came out. There were 3 or 4 songs that I really love. I'm a ballad type of guy, so I did listen to Horizon, probably the most out of all the songs. And I was also one of the people who enjoyed Kickback more than Action Figure, because I know more people enjoyed Action Figure and were wondering why Action Figure is on the title track. But yeah, I don't think it makes sense anymore. So what I want to say is that those three songs I still listen from time to time. The other three, I think I've listened to them only like 2 or 3 times. So it's not that I don't enjoy them or I don't like them. I just don't have like that. I know they didn't stick to my brain those 2 3 times I listened to them, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I like them. I don't think that like they are my cup of tea. So I don't know. Maybe that's like the reason why just my brain shifted that way. But yeah, definitely this is an okay album. They definitely had better ones again. But also, we all know that they actually planned for the full album release this year, but circumstances happened, and here we are with no full album at all. But we still got something. We did get this mini album. We did get, well, not the full Wavy, but some of Wavy members in NCT 2021 project. So I'm quite happy with Wavy this year, some of them. So yeah, but I do think that if I listen to this album maybe more, it will be higher. But as of now, let it be number 19. So number 18 on my list is 17 Ataka. So I honestly still don't know what Ataka even means. I'll just leave it at that. 17 is also one of the groups that I really enjoyed this year. They really like grew on my list. You can check out my video, by the way, which I previously released on my favorite K-pop groups of 2021, so you can see it. But yeah, the reason why actually I started loving 17 so much, honestly, I'm just gonna be honest here, it's more because of the members than because of the music. I do enjoy every 17 title track, but B-sides are kind of here and miss or hit for me, you know? So for example, I didn't honestly fully enjoyed 17's album as a whole since what is it called? Uh, that one where we have left and right as a title track. I don't know the title name of the album, but you know what I mean. Hengare or something like that, I think. But yeah, since then I didn't like fully as an album. I didn't enjoy it fully. So here as well as previous two, I have some tries that I listen, some that I don't listen at all. So for example, when we talk about unit tracks, I think this is the most disappointing album for me. I was actually at first loving a hip hop unit song because they definitely did something different, and I still do love it and listen to it. The other two songs I don't listen honestly at all. And also, I do listen to title track and I do listen to Crush, but I'm also not the type who enjoys Crush that much and think of it as my favorite 17 B-side or favorite 17 track at all. So yeah, maybe also that is the reason, like I said, for the previous two, for this one also. But yeah, I just want 17 to release. I mean, this is still good, and I do love this album. It's on my list, but I would definitely want something better. When we talk about my style, I know really a lot of people love 17 right now, the way they are, their music, the way it is now. But I just like want something for more personal for my taste. And of course, everyone wants that. I'm not selfish for wanting that. It's just like my need. And yeah, but I still definitely will check out every album 17 puts out. I was even planning on buying this album, but money was problem at that time, so I still didn't buy it. But maybe in the future, next one, I'm definitely gonna consider buying it. Totally. Number 17 on my list is Enhypen Border Carnival. So this is Enhypen we're talking about. So Enhypen is a group that I knew since debut, and I listened to their title tracks like Given Taken, Drunk Days, you know. But I actually never wanted to stand them. Like I didn't have like that need. Uh, so I did listen to Drunk Days when it was released, and I listened to the album. But I honestly did not like it because when I listened to it, I was just like sitting in my chair and was, you know, listening, and I was not amazed by any track at all, not even Drunk Days at that time. So I listened to it then, and then when Fever became really popular on TikTok, I was like, okay, this song sounds familiar to me, but why I didn't know who it is and anything. But when then, well, actually, then I find out that it was Hypen, and I was like, damn, I listened to this album, like I listened to this song. And when the music video for Fever came out, I started listening to Fever, and when I started listening to Fever, I started listening to the other tracks on the album also. So then I was like, wow, this album is actually pretty good, you know? So difference between this album and the albums that are ranked lower than this one is that this album is, in my opinion, better. This album has better tracks than, you know, than the other ones. But the reason why it is maybe not that high is because just of how many tracks it consists of. Like, I know that this is just a mini album, but like this is mini album with 6 tracks we're talking about, but they honestly do have only 4 tracks, and the other 2 are intro and outro that Hypen always do. And I do love that in the albums, but I love that also when we have at least like 6 tracks. But with just 4 tracks, this album feels so incomplete to me, and I just feel something is missing, something more than just those 4 tracks. Because when I always listen to the album, I skip intro and I skip outro, and I never listen to those except the first time that I listen to the album. So like, yeah, that's basically the only reason why. But they really did kill this album. Like, let's just talk about how Fever became their most like famous song, even if it's not the title track. So this album definitely killed that, and I fully enjoy it even now. I listen to the tracks honestly quite regularly still to this day, even if it passed like 8 months. So I'm really happy with this album, how it sounds. Yeah. So number 16 on my list is IU Lilac. So this is IU's full album, I think, since like 2016. I don't think since then she had like a full album. So I was so excited for this. I also have a friend who really likes IU, by the way. So we were like, just I cannot wait for this album, you know, because IU is always like the artist you expect bangers and new releases that are really awesome. So first Celebrity came out as a pre-release track, and then when the album dropped, I listened to it, and honestly, on the first listen, the only track beside the title track and Celebrity that actually like got my attention is My C. The other ones kind of just passed to my mind. Like, basically listened to the album while I was doing something, and I just wasn't even concentrating on the album, and I was like yeah. Then I kind of did listen to it a couple of more times, and I started appreciating some more tracks, but it still wasn't like my like top album. Then I was like watching like people on social media like praising this album, talking how it's the album of the year, and I was like, something must be wrong with me, honestly, because how so much people love this album so much, and I'm still like one of those that are like not even in the top 10. But then as I was doing this list and as I was listening Lilac again, I was really thinking how this album is actually quite good, you know. It was just like me not like really feeling it at that time, I don't know, but right now honestly I do enjoy like most of the tracks on the album. And like for the past month, I really did listen to a lot of tracks, Troll for example, and just IU's vocals in this album shined, I think, most out of all the albums she ever released. So she really improved with this album. She broken some records also, which I'm really happy for. Well, she was a little robbed at the award shows. We're not gonna talk about those. But when they said that I deserved album of the year, when we talk about like achievements of every track individually and the album as a whole, I'm definitely like, it's okay for me. I'm not mad at IO like receiving Album of the Year award, because she totally do deserve it, even if it's not my favorite album of the year in my opinion, as you can see. But I definitely do think actually she really nailed this one. It's just like, for my taste of the music, not my favorite of all time, yeah. Number 15 on the list is ITZY Crazy in Love. So this is ITZY's first full-length album. First thing that I did not like about this album is that it consists of so many English versions, and this is basically an album that consists of, I think, about 14 tracks, but we have like maybe even more, I don't know, but we have like so much songs that are in English that I kind of feel like it's totally necessary to be in there. They just could made an album with 10 songs, or they just could like have like 14 songs, like, it doesn't even matter. So actually I did not like, I'm not the type of person who enjoys its B-sides so much, more title tracks. But yeah, this album also changed my mind. The reason maybe why it's 15 is because I did not listen to it as much, because at the time when this album was released, I find a job, so I was working like almost the whole day, and then I came home being tired, and I just didn't have energy to listen to any songs at all, not even talk about albums in here. So I did not have like that motivation to listen to the album as much. So there are some songs that I did listen, but there are some songs that I just honestly heard then and never again. Like 2 or 3 songs are in there that I honestly just heard once, maybe twice, and that's it. But I really love, honestly, all the tracks. But like I said, the only reason maybe why it's so low is because I did not listen to it as much, because I didn't have time. If I had time, I definitely think I would be streaming this album more than I did, and I definitely think that it would be higher on my list, because it definitely showcased another side of ITZY that I don't think we never seen before, and I'm just happy that they taken it a little different direction right now. So I'm quite like satisfied with how this album looks like. Specifically, when we talk about is their first full-length album. Oh my god, like, honestly, I'm so impressed by them. Yeah, I always enjoy ITZY, and I'm just hoping for more good albums in the next year also. Number 14 on the list is Junha Querencia. I think I pronounced it correctly, I don't even know. So this is, I think, the first album in this year that I've heard. We have like, I think 4 or 5 songs that we kind of already heard last year, because they were kind of pre-releases. She honestly had quite a lot of pre-releases last year. So I was like, girl, where is the album? Like, I was so pumped up for the album that it was honestly crazy because Jungha is my favorite female solo artist. So I was really looking forward to it a lot. Then when the album came out, I was thinking of buying it, but the online store here that I live in didn't have it at all, so I was not in opportunity to buy it. So I still don't have it, but yeah, I wish I did. First things first, I planned, because at the time I was still doing reactions on my channel, I planned on doing reaction to the full album, but I was just like, nah, like I don't feel like recording anything, I'm just gonna listen to it on my own. And then at the first listen for this album, it's a little bit different than the rest of than those that ranked lower than this one, because at first I liked almost every single track, but then as more as I listened, less I liked it. Really, like, my brain works totally differently than other people's, and I'm just like weird, really weird. And I'm like, I know there are like definitely like the half of the album that I listened quite a lot. Specifically when we think about this album, I think was released in January, maybe February, I'm not that sure. And I still listen to some of the tracks even now when it's December. So that speaks a lot. So that is why this album is higher than some other ones that I maybe even listened, that I maybe even liked more, because I definitely appreciate that, because if you caught my attention and I listened to the album at the end of the year that was released at the beginning of the year, that definitely means that that album is at least good. So I definitely think that it deserved the spot that it got in, because I did definitely enjoy it. Just because this was a full album, her first full album, I expected something better, because I honestly think that I liked Jungha's previous songs, title tracks, and even B-sides better than this one. But I definitely still do like this one, and the latest story is giving me like one of my favorite Jungha's songs. So I think she proved in herself this year also, and I did quite enjoy her activities this year. I just hope she had something more, but considering that she released full album, that's honestly quite a lot. Before I announce number 13 on the list, I just want to say that almost all the albums on this list that have repackaged, I will say both names, name of the album and repackaged album, but I'm definitely counting all the songs from the repackaged album, because that's like album as a whole. I hope I made some sense, but here it is on number 13 is TXT, the Chaos Chapter Freeze and the Chaos Chapter Fight or Escape. So honestly, this is also maybe controversial opinion, because I am one of the people that enjoyed TXT's previous songs and previous style more than I do this. I'm not a big fan of the bands and this type of music they like doing right now. So maybe that's why it is so low on the list. Also, reason why it's just number 13 is higher, it's because of how much I listen to it. Of course, there are songs that I listen to quite often. There are some songs that I honestly listened only 2 or 3 times, but I think this album as a whole, it's not my favorite TXT album, and I honestly also plan to buy it. But then when I actually heard the track at first, I was a little bit disappointed. But then as I started listening more and more, and as the people around me who listen to TXT said how good it is, I was like, maybe I should give it a more chances, and I did kind of force myself to listen to it more. But I think at the end I did like it more than I initially did at first listen. So as of right now, I think this is like the perfect spot for the album, because that's just how much I listen to it. Like just a little about under the middle ground. So I think it's really good. I just find like their new concept not my cup of tea. I'm not gonna say not my cup of tea. It's not that I fully dislike it. I just love their previous concepts. I'm talking about album concepts and songs more. For example, their album, I think it was called Eternally or Eternity. I don't know. Like that is my favorite album, and since then, for me they did not top that still. So yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I hope so. Yeah, I think this is a perfect spot, definitely. Number 12 on my list is Astra All Yours. This is surprisingly for me, because honestly, I never listened to any Astra song at all before this year and before that album. I just listened to it because of actually I just knew of Astra because of uh, Unbu, and I a little bit knew about Moonbin also, mostly because of his visuals, honestly. So yeah, and I don't know what happened to me this year. I guess I was just quite bored at that time, and I was just like, Astro released like full album, I should like listen to it. And immediately at the first listen, I loved it. I just loved it. Like at that time, there was not a single song on first listen that I was like, this is like quite bad. I honestly enjoyed every single track at that time. As time passed by, there are some songs that I just stopped listening to. But the half album at least I just fully enjoyed, and I was honestly pre- really surprised about their skills and just the tracks overall, because from the group that you never listened to, I just got straight into the full album and I liked every single song. That was like just so new to me, and I was so amazed. Why is this album so low? Maybe honestly this is not low. 12 place is really good, but it's probably just because as the time got by, I just stopped kind of listening to it. There are like some songs, like half of the album that I still listened, but I just didn't listen to it quite often, because when it was released, I listened to it every single day. But I guess I kind of overplayed it at that time. So right now, I'm just not listening to it as much. So yeah, but I'm definitely looking forward to Astro's new releases in the future also. But I'm gonna be honest, I just didn't listen to the repackaged album after this, so that's the reason why I didn't put it on this list, because I honestly did not listen to it at all. But all yours I did, and I did really enjoy that. Number 11, it's EXO Don't Fight the Feeling. So this is special album for those of you who maybe don't know. This is like not even supposed to be like a promotional album, mini album, full album, nothing. It's just special album. It's just for the fans who are waiting for EXO. As you'll probably know, EXO is going through a military phase right now, and they are not really an opportunity to release anything as a group. So they find a little bit of time between their packed schedule to release this album as 7 members, and I do really appreciate it. I was so honored as a XOL for them, because with everything they have planned, they still find time to release special album. We all know that albums are not really easy to record, so I just appreciate this so much. Uh, at first, this album was really good to me. I honestly played it non-stop. It just had like 5 tracks. So I was like okay, just 5 tracks. But then when I realized that those 5 tracks are something important to us as our fans, because who knows when we're gonna get new music soon, I was like, I'm just really loving this. At that time, again, as the others albums on this list, I did listen to it quite often. After that, I didn't listen to it as much. Right now, I don't quite listen to it as much. Also, there are some like 3 maybe songs that I listen from time to time. Others I don't listen at all. But yeah, I think not EXO's best album in my opinion, but still, I just wanted to put it this high as like thanks to EXO for just trying their best and thinking of us fans and giving us this special album. Honestly, just as a gift. This is a gift, so I really do appreciate that. We come to the top 10, half of this list. So number 10, it's ITZY Guess Who. I know a little bit weird, especially for me to put mini album higher than full album. That honestly doesn't happen to me quite often, because I do appreciate full albums a lot more, because you need to put so much more work, because there are so much more tracks on the album, and there is so much more promotions for the full album than mini album. But honestly, stylistically speaking, Guess Who is my favorite ITZY album of all time. Like, it passed their previous albums. I said when I talked about Crazy in Love that I honestly did not like Never Before B-sides, ITZY B-sides, but this is the album where I loved every single B-side except maybe Tennis. I think it's called Tennis, right? I think it's on this album, yeah. But the other songs, oh my god, I played it non-stop. Sorry Not Sorry, guys, I'm like obsessed. I listen to it even now. I don't know when this album was released. Was it like uh April, May? I don't even know. But I do still honestly listen to all of the tracks. Again, the reason why maybe I didn't put it as high, let's say that is very high, is just because there are some albums that I do love even more, even if it's not like very surprising. Because Guess Who is really good as an album. I think 10th Spot is just quite like okay when we're talking about mini albums, because I wanted to give more opportunities to full albums on my list further that are above 10th place. So let's see what those are. Number 9 is Baekhyun Bambi. Some of you may know, some of you may don't know. Baekhyun is my ultimate bias. Well, alongside like one or two more people, but he is like definitely one of my favorite persons in K-pop, favorite K-pop idol. And I personally do actually think that Baekhyun makes the best music out of all EXO members when we talk about solos. I know that a lot of people enjoy Kai's music more than Baekhyun's, but I just don't. I just find Baekhyun's music more my style. Even when we talk like about B-sides, this is again not my favorite Baekhyun album. I think his last year album, Candy, right, was much better than this album. But I still did love every little bit of this album. He gave us full chaos. The reason why it is maybe higher than it should be based on my listen, he gave us talent. He gave us a full chaos for days. This is like, if we talked about like vocal album of the year, this would be number one with no doubt. He just proved how talented he is. He just proved himself as the greatest K-pop vocalist for me, at least at this point. I think Baekhyun came to that point where he is at his best state he's been. Unfortunately, he's now in the military and he cannot make music. Well, in 2022 we're not gonna get anything because he's being released in 2023. But I really appreciate also that he gave us this album and he tried his best to give us this before he goes into military, so we have more music to listen. And when we miss him, there is like every genre that we can kind of listen to. I even bought the album, so I'm just like so happy. Also love the whole concept of the album, and it's just he gave us something different. But at the same time, it's Baekhyun just upgraded, improved, and I just love him so much, and I'm just so thankful for this album and so proud of him. Yeah. Number 8 on my list is Stray Kids No Easy. So who would have thought? I never thought that Stray Kids would come with full album year after year, because usually groups release like a full album, they don't have full albums like for 2 years, then they release the second one, but they like did it here for a year, which really came as a surprise. I definitely did bought the album. It's like, wait, it's here. But like I definitely were not expecting to buy it. It's just like, should I should I not? Like let's go, because I like the concept. I was like, I definitely want to buy it. It's even a limited edition. That speaks a lot. So also what I wanted to say about this album is that when we talk about how much I listen to this album, it's definitely my most played Stray Kids album. This is definitely their album that I listen to the most. This is definitely the album of Stray Kids that I listen to the most. But their previous album, when we talk about production and everything, I think it's called In Life, right? It's definitely better. But this album I listened to more. I don't know, maybe it's because I had more time, or I just maybe it's just like more my style. I did definitely enjoy this album. But speaking of which, when you listen to the album, I think the first half of the album it's better than the second half, and I would just kind of like mix it up a little bit so you don't get bored by the time when the album ends, because that happened for me. Like I listened to maybe 10 tracks, and then after 10 track I was like, I think they could stop at like number 10. We wouldn't need more tracks. Like that's the only like negative thing I have to say about it. The other is they definitely are great, and I did definitely like them better this year than I did last. And I'm so happy they became so popular. Like, definitely one of the biggest groups right now. I definitely think they need more recognition in Korea, definitely. But I think the next year will be even better for them. Who knows, maybe even again full album. We never know what to expect. Today we received the news that they are releasing some Stray Kids 2021 album about their songs that are remastered or something like that. So they are working non-stop to provide us with good and quality music. So I'm here for it, and I appreciate their hard work, specifically knowing that they are self-produced group. I really, really do love what they're doing, and I did really enjoy this album. Number 7 on my list is Shiny Don't Call Me. This is actually Don't Call Me Atlantis, whatever. This is actually the first Shiny album that I listened like in full. I can never listen to any B-side at all from Shiny, because Shiny is like second generation. I listened to K-pop when the second generation was at that time, but like I did not listen to boy groups as much as I did girl groups. So I always knew about Shiny, but I always just listened only their title tracks. So when I find out that they are gonna come back after military, I was like so honestly so excited, because it started setting SM, like every group from SM. So I was like, it's time for Shiny also. And then I was like, wow, like I need to listen to Shiny. And so we came to be with Shiny. I listened to the full album, immediately loved it at the first listen. Also, as most of the albums that were released in like the beginning of the year, I listened to it non-stop when it was released, but then as the time passed, I just listened to it more, actually lesser than I did at the beginning. So honestly, I'm just like here, like I'm just like I love this album so much. But I just listened to this album like about 2 or 3 days ago, and I was like, oh my god, I did not listen to some of the songs on this album like for so long. I even forgotten how they sound. But this album as a whole was a real surprise to me, because as a person who listens to the Shiny B-sides for the first time, I was like, they really do make such a great B-side tracks. I definitely enjoyed every one of those. Maybe not just one. I don't like one track. Others are just like totally my taste. And I'm just like so happy with this album and with Shiny overall this year. Yeah. By the way, when we already talk about Shiny, I just want to say that the previous video I made, my favorite K-pop groups of 2021, for some reason I totally like forgot to put Shiny. Like when I was making a list, I was just like watching some site like all the groups right now that are active, and I was just writing names to rank them later, and I just totally skipped Shiny. But I just want, for some of you who maybe watched that video and are interested, I would just like replace the last, like I would just like Cosmic Girls like would be out of the list, and I would put like Shiny on number 18 on my list. So just for like little information. Yeah, I feel like so mad at myself right now that I've forgotten them for some reason, because number 18 it's like so high, and I just forgotten group that I love like that much. It's just kind of like really stupid of me to do, but just wanted to let you know. Number 6 is aespa Savage. This is aespa's first album. They definitely had singles before, as you know. aespa was so big this year. Like I'm amazed by their power already, and I'm honestly scared of what the future holds. um when we talk about aespa as a group, I'm definitely like interested in the girls, in their music. I think there is still a lot of room for improvement. But I think that this album, they really did something that like I don't think girl group in SM did that before. I did listen to Girls' Generation, I did listen to Red Velvet, but this structure of the songs and the albums are something you've never heard for either one of them. And aespa is the first girl group to do this kind of thing, and I think this is the most similar to NCT. And I think SM is going kind of in that concept lately with all that NCT stuff. So this is like similar. I think this is something like aespa's female version of NCT for me when we talk about music. So maybe that's the reason why I'm enjoying this album so much, because I do enjoy NCT music overall. So this album is no skip album for me. I mean, I know it just consists of 6 tracks, five, six, but this is definitely a non-skip album for me. These songs are honestly so good. I listen to them honestly non-stop. Reason why six, probably because it's mini album. The other five I have are all full albums, I think, right? So yeah, this is like the highest ranked mini album of the year. At least you got that. But I really did enjoy this album, and I just cannot wait to see what aespa's gonna do in the future, because they're still new, kind of. So yeah, I'm excited for their future. Number 5 on my list is NCT 127 sticker slash favorite. Basically, I'm not gonna talk about title tracks. You will have a video of my songs of the year. If one of those songs are gonna be included, I honestly still didn't finish my list. I don't know. But NCT became my favorite group of the year, as some of you from the previous video know. And I just love these guys so much. I was so excited for this album. I honestly bought 2 copies. I bought the sticker version and Soul City version. And I was so excited for it to come out. Design of the album is a little bit controversial. We're not gonna talk about that. Still, guys were great. When we talk about the songs of the album, which is why we're here, I'm gonna say that this is not my favorite NCT 127 album. My favorite NCT 127 album is last year's album, Neo Zone, because that was honestly no skip album for me. Production, everything was so immaculate. When we talk about this album, honestly don't love every single track, but I do see myself like from time to time listening to some song. Like there is not a song that I will like come back in like 6 months to say I don't feel like listening to this. Like this is an album that I maybe don't feel like listening every time, but when I do play it, I still enjoy it from start to finish. And I think that's the way it's gonna be in the future also. The structure of the album is also really amazing. I think they wanted to show a different side of them with this album, what they always honestly do. I think, like I said, the structure from the beginning, Glass Song, Promise You, was amazing as a closure to the album. So I definitely did enjoy this album. Just so proud of this album. I think, I'm not honestly 100% sure, but I think this album became the SM's highest, when we talk about sales, highest album. So I'm just so proud and so happy, and I definitely think they deserve the title. And I'm always so proud and looking forward to their new albums in the future as well. I really love this album. Totally did not expect them to come out with full album. Like I said, with Stray Kids also, because they did last year. But because of how big of a pause they have, I've seen how worried they were for all this album, for like the album as a whole, and I'm just so proud that fans supported it, and that they seem that they have fans that are always there for them, and that whatever they put out, it's gonna be supported. But I'm so happy that it's what we support is not something trashy, just music that it's definitely like to our tastes, and that it's definitely revolutionary in my opinion. So I'm really happy for them. Number 4 on the list is Twice Formula of Love. So some of you may know that last year's album, Twice also have full album, and I was not a big fan. I will like listen to it. I think it was on my list. I'm honestly not quite sure, but I don't think I've listened to it at all this year. But this year's albums, oh my god! When I tell you that this is the first Twice album that I liked on the first listen, like almost all of the songs, I don't think you're gonna believe me. But I have like this like big speakers, I honestly just put the volume all the way up and I just started dancing to every single track. What I think Twice did with this album, they definitely try to get closer to the American public, which I think is a smart move. As we all know, they have like concert to tour in America, so I think it's time for that. Also, what I do think is that this album was quite kind of different for Twice. When we talk about the music style, they definitely changed their style for me completely. Like it's not Twice I'm listening to. So I was really enjoying it. Like the whole production, every song had something that stick to me, that was recognizable and very different, and that I enjoyed. So that's what I did definitely appreciated. Also, as every album, like there are some songs that I like less, there are some songs that I like more. But as a whole, when we put it at the end, this is definitely my favorite Twice album of all time. I think they definitely stepped the game with this one. Definitely hoping for more albums like this one, even maybe better than this one. Yeah, I'm just hoping the best for Twice next year. We all know what is coming. Like, I just be here and pray and that we're gonna get so much amazing more albums. I know they are overworked and I know a lot of ones are complaining, but I know I'm not gonna share like my opinion on this matter right now, but like I definitely love this album so much. I listen to it like honestly every day. Like honestly, there is at least like one or two tracks that I listen daily from the album, so that's how much I love it. Big top three. Okay, number three on the list is Enhypen's Dimension Dilemma. Firstly, when I say W that this is my first comeback as an hyphen stan, because when they announced this comeback, that's when I kind of started loving and hyphen so much. So I have had such high expectations. I was so worried, am I gonna like it or am I not gonna like it? You don't even understand. I was like, my future of staying this group depends on this album. Like I was holding. And then when this album came out, honestly, I can say that I was really amazed. Like I was really amazed. I was like, definitely not no skip album. Definitely my taste. Definitely Enhypen's best album in my opinion till now. Like I know they don't have a lot, but definitely they really you can see the effort, you can see the progress, and you can see how much they evolved for 1 year. They became million sellers in just 1 year. Like that's mind blowing to me, and that just proves how public loves them, how much fans they have, and how big of expectations there are for them. They're also talented. I just love them so much. Yeonjun on this album was a honestly great choice, especially for that song. I definitely enjoyed every album. If I need to rank them, this would be the ranking, but definitely no skip album. Also, as for the previous Enhypen's albums that I already mentioned, the only like thing that I have is just that it's so short. We honestly just like we have 8 tracks, but 2 tracks are intro and outro that also I said I don't listen to. So we practically have just 6 tracks, which is kind of a mini album, not a full album. But speaking from Blackpink points of view, this is a full album, so I definitely enjoy it. I think this album would be number one contendant. I think that's how you say it. If it just had like at least 2 more full songs. Yeah. For right now, it's number 3, and no skip album definitely. Number 2 on my list is NCT 2021 Beautiful. Oh my god, guys. When I tell you, this album honestly came out like a week ago. The way I listened to this album, like already more than almost every album this year, it's kind of unreal to me. Like, I'm honestly impressed with NCT and their skills. I loved Resonance so much from the past year. As you know, it was number 1 on my list last year. But goodness gracious, this album is even better than Resonance. Now, you may be wondering why it's not number 1. It's not just because I find it quite like unusual to just put this album that I listened for a week before the album that I listen like almost every day, every like almost like since it was released till now. But this album is definitely a strong contender for number one. If it was just released like at least 2 months, 3 months ago, I think it would be number one. But for now, just because of the time that I have listened to it, because I only have like a week, it's number two. It's definitely a no skip album. If you ask me to rank them, this will be my ranking. But this is so hard. Like this is the hardest decision I made in my entire life, honestly. Like it's so hard. I love this album more than Resonance for different reasons. Firstly, it's because of the songs, but second of all, it's because have every single member in NCT got an opportunity to showcase more of their skills. Like I did not see even a single member that lacked in some song like lesser more lines or anything at all. Everyone got like the same amount, and I was just so happy to see that SM is doing that. Like how crazy is that? Like the members who didn't show what they can do before definitely proving that now. I'm so happy for them. I did honestly think that this whole thing was a little rushed. That last year promotions was better because we had different units, different time releases. We had repackage. Like we have a lot of more things to look forward to and have time to enjoy. Right now, it's all at the end of the year. It's all rushed, but I do appreciate this. I know how hard they work for us. I just have loved them so much. I don't know if we're gonna get this like every year from now on. I don't know. I would just love if we got in it next year. I would want it to be like the last year, like we got in it in September or so, so we have like time to fully process anything. But this is like definitely such a good album, no skip album. I loving it so much. I'm gonna listen to this album like throughout the whole next year, I think. So I really love it so much. Finally, number one. You might be wondering who it is. I don't think this is gonna come to a surprise, but number one is number one album of the year, NCT Dream, Hot Sauce, Hello Future. So I just want to talk about this album for hours and hours because that's how much I have to say and I want to say, but I'm just gonna like stick to like 2-3 minutes. When this album was released, immediately it became my album of the year. At that time, I said to myself, nothing's gonna be this album. This album is perfection from beginning till the end. And I was right. No album beat it for me. Still to this day, this is honestly one of my favorite albums when I think of it, albums in K-pop in general, since I listened to K-pop for like these 8 years. That's how much like I love this album. Every single track, you can like play it for me in any time or day. I would just start dancing and I would definitely like listen whole album every day, like a couple of times in a day, you know? I'm not gonna get bored of it. I still didn't get bored of it after like 7 months since it released. I have 2 copies also over there. NCT Dream by this album became my favorite group, favorite NCT subunit, but also favorite K-pop group like all of time. And I'm just so proud. Achievements they made with this album were amazing. Like youngest million sellers, double million sellers, triple million sellers. I stopped counting actually. They were robbed for like many different reasons you all know, but this album is definitely album of the year in my heart. Such good production. They really proved the other side of Dream, and their vocals and raps really shined throughout this album the most. This is my favorite NCT Dream album. This is my favorite NCT album in general out of all NCT units. I'm happy Mark and Headchan are back, and this album is 7 again. I don't know if I will love it if it was 5, maybe not, we will never know. I'm just so happy for them, and I cannot wait to see what they're gonna do next year. I'll love them with my full heart. This album is greatest of all time for me. I cannot even tell you by words how much I love it, and I honestly cannot describe it. It's just undescribable. It's it's just that album for me. It's definitely album of the year worthy, and I'm so proud of them. So that will be it. We came to the conclusion. You heard all my 20 albums of the year. Like I said, this is just my opinion. This is something that I just like putting out the other day. I was really thinking hard which album should I put. This is the list that I came up with. It's just the way it is. It's just the albums that I listen to most, that I enjoy the most. Definitely another great year in K-pop. Definitely a lot of good produced albums. There are a lot of other albums that I did listen to that but I did not love them as much. But yeah, I like definitely this was for me definitely NCT's year, and I'm just so proud of them. I'm actually proud of every group, and I'm looking forward to the next year as well. I'm definitely gonna be doing this every year. You can expect that from me, because I really love doing this and love sharing my opinions with you guys. So that could be you also. So you can write down your opinions in your comments. What is your favorite album of the year? And if you enjoy watching me like this video, subscribe to my channel, and see you guys in the next video, and you can expect a lot more. See ya in the next video. Bye.